I'm going to talk about ways you could use simulation as a starting point and how you can make well-defined problems and goals from such a mapping or such a simulation-based activity. In fact, I think I'll just show you right now just 3 examples, and they're going to be in different industries. The first one I'm showing on screen now is actually my personal home garden. And we're going to look at things like, all right, this is a flow of raw materials, seeds in this case, a process of transplanting outside once they grow in the lab, flowering, producing fruits and vegetables. Let me just hit the play button so you can see this thing move. Because one of the benefits of doing this as a process, not just a process map, but a simulation, so that other people can see it. So you're watching some of these seeds turn into plants, plants turn into fruit, and harvesting them. Let me just run this to the end. There we go. All right. Now, as part of process mapping, we're going to go through this example in more detail later, but we'll be able to look for problems here. Like you can see, this rabbit is eating a dozen or so of the veggies. Need some way to keep him out. Some of the flowers don't get pollinated, but most of the vegetables make it just fine. In this particular diagram, I've also got resources laid out. Like myself, I operate as part of a pooled resource group that does some of the work here in those steps. My wife, she's part of the pooled resource. The pooled resource itself does the harvesting at the end. So there are rules for how all these things interact. We're going to go through that today. Let me go to another example. Here's a healthcare example. No, don't save the garden example just yet. Now, it works for simple manufacturing, process-oriented, value stream mapping kind of work that we just showed there for my garden. But it can also work, this discrete event simulation method, process mapping in general, works very well in healthcare. Healthcare continuous improvement has been growing faster than any other industry that I've been working with over the last 5 or 6 years. It's very exciting. And in this particular simulation, you'll see an attempt to tackle the problem of doctor utilization, of patient waiting time. And in this version of the simulation, you see all the people coming in through ambulances, through walk-ins, going through, some of them getting stuck in cubicles for way too long. And part of that is being graphed with some infographics down here below. So we'll do a little project later on trying to manage and improve the wait times customers experience here in this simulation. And I really like at the end of this one, a summary of the simulation popped up showing me some of the KPIs for this project. We'll look at that in more detail later. And one more, and we're going to go in more detail into this one here first to get started today. But this one is a manufacturing example, specifically in this case about raw materials coming into a facility and going through an electric winding motor process. The electric windings on the motor, it has to be wound, it has to be insulated, it has to be cleaned, it has to go through some oven and inspection process. So let me give you a run at this one. All right. And in this one, try to think through with me, if you could, like, how would we describe a problem here? And I'm just going to let it run in the current state of this map. Another thing I like about simulation is you can have your current state map, your future state map, all interactive here. So you can bring this to your team, even if they didn't go to the Gemba, even if they didn't walk this plant. You can see the picture of the plant laid out right here. Even if they weren't standing here watching the winding machines at the top right of this graph, you can show them, yeah, some of these parts that you see going through this process, they're building up there. The work in process, it's building up. There's something of a bottleneck there, but it's not too bad. It goes away. You speed this up as you go through this process, and we had 648 raw materials parts coming into this process, and 618 of them made it through. And in the base case, that's fine. That's our current working condition. That's exactly what we expect. But a simulation like this lets you do what-if scenarios. So you could, for example, switch to a different schedule. Like, what if next month? What if we have 50% more parts come through? How would our simulation look then? Reset this for you. You can see with more parts coming in this month-long simulation, you see them bunch up here at the first step. Then do you notice anything interesting about the winding stations? Remember how that would build up before, but then we'd always make it through them all before the next batch of raw materials comes in. But here, now that we've gone to schedule 2, where we're looking at like 50% more per month, per week even, per shipment, you can see this winding bottleneck never goes down. It just keeps, I mean, it oscillates a little, but it just keeps building. If we speed this up to the end, you'll see 777 out of 948. So that is a much worse percentage than 620 out of 640 that we had before, right? And at the pause point here at the very end of the month, you'll see a huge backlog. If we do this, good thing we didn't do this in real life. I'm sure we don't have that much room to have that much work in process by the winding station.